Hello guys and girls and people and aliens and reptiles that are watching this
However
video.
you identify yourself.
However you identify yourself. Welcome to askmark number 39. I hope you're having a corker of a day wherever you're watching or listening to this. Now, normally I would say happy Friday, but there are people that aren't watching this on Friday, so I'm going to cut that out, even though technically I just said it.
Yeah.
So anyway, how are you, Mark? How have you been? How's life? What's your bank account details?
I have a new bank card, which I mentioned to you a little while ago.
You did?
It has no numbers on the front.
Well,
Which
to
is
prove it,
weird.
can you get it on camera and then flip it around the back, please?
It's not, I don't actually have it on me.
I'll blur the details. Honestly, I will.
Apparently, this is a new thing going forwards. I suppose they don't really need the raised numbers to do that kind of thing anymore. Kids who were born like 1990 and afterwards have no idea what that is in reference to that.
No, they see it on Home Alone 2 when he goes to the Bellagio and they're like, what is that thing?
Yeah, that's true.
And then they look at that big box and like, what's that thing? That's called a TV. He's like, that's not a TV. Look at it. It's the size of a house.
Look at the size of it.
Yeah.
What's all the stuff behind the screen?
Yeah. Is that where you just store all the cables? No, that's where most of the screen is.
Yeah.
But you're okay, Ozzy.
I don't know how we got onto that. No, dogs have been walked. Stretched my legs, got some fresh air this morning, had my coffee. So yeah, all is going well.
Awesome. So far. Awesome. Cool. Right. Well, let's crack on with it. Let's crack on. I didn't say crap. I said crap. I just said crap then. I'm going to write it. Let's crap on, guys. Let's crap on to some other questions.
Do let's.
Yeah, sweet. So the first question is from Ellie. She says, hi, I'm looking to buy the XDeep Zen Deluxe set steel backplate system. Awesome. But I'm unsure what size to buy as I'm 175 centimeters tall. Should I go with the small size or the large? Thanks.
So yeah, if you didn't know, XDeep with their backplate range, they have two different sizes. They have small and they have large. And the size chart is basically 175 centimeters and taller, you're a large. And then if you're under 175 centimeters tall, then you're a small, because the backplate is ever so slightly shorter on the smaller size backplates. The large is just the sort of standard size. But I think the actual size chart, the wording on XDeep's website is if you're 175 centimeters tall or taller, go for the large. If in doubt with most scuba equipment, go for the larger size because it's a lot easier to either pad something out or cut off a little excess strap than try and add size. It is quite hard to add length to something that's too short.
So if you can weld.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So yeah, I'd recommend the larger size because it is going to be a bit more comfortable, because it is spreading the sort of the weight across more of your back if it's the back plate, and it's just going to be more comfortable. But as far as anything from like fins and whatnot, it's always better to go a little bit bigger, just because it's better to have a little bit too much space than just be restrictive and sort of cut off blood flow or anything. You can always wear like an extra pair of socks for your fins, or sort of heavier boots, but you can't wear like any less to try and get a smaller pair of boots on or a smaller pair of fins on. But yeah, as far as the size chart, if you're 175 centimeters, go for the size large.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you very much. Hope that helps out. Have you had issues with back plate sizes before? Let us know in the comments, please. Question number 2 is from Mario. You know how it's me, Mario. I had to say it. Sorry, Mario. I just had to say it.
Do you want me to do my denim joke again?
No. No.
That'll get stuck in your head, won't it, Sean?
It will. Don't do that. Right.
What does Mario ask?
Mario asks, he needs help getting the princess. No, he says, thinking about going tech diving in the near future and replacing my Galileo Luna. So is the G2 an option to the Perdix?
Yeah, I mean the G2 is like the successor to the Luna. It's like the new version. I think it's officially called the Galileo 2, but yeah, they just nicknamed it the G2. Yeah, it is a good sort of technical dive computer. The Perdix has its own reputation as being an outstanding technical computer, and just
I've heard bad things personally. Perdix, man, I heard it rusts. It's really bad.
Yeah, that plastic. It uniquely rusts.
It's weird, mate.
But the G2, G2 does have one ace up its sleeve, which is the human factor diving. You can get a wireless heart rate monitor belt. I think you could on the Luna as well, but it's basically a heart rate monitor that goes around your chest. It also measures the temperature of your skin and your heart rate, obviously, and that goes into the dive computer, and it tailors your dive profile depending on sort of how hard you're working, basically. So if it sees that your skin temperature is nice and warm and you're just sort of chilling out, is a nice easy dive, then it sort of lets you stay down a little bit longer. But if it sees, oh, you're a little bit cold and you're working really hard to like fight a current or something, it makes your no decompression limit a little bit shorter, a bit more conservative, and therefore a bit safer, because it knows that you're probably going to be on gassing a little bit faster, but off gassing a little bit slower. So it tailors your dive profile, which is sort of pretty clever.
Awesome.
3-button user interface compared to the Perdix's 2. It's got a rechargeable battery and a color screen as well, with lots of information on it that I think you can customize. I think you can change the colors on it like the Perdix. But yeah, either or. If you're used to the Luna, then you'll get onto the G2 really quickly and easily. So yeah, both good choices. Either or.
Yeah, or buy a Terric. There you go. Buy a Terric. Had to get that in there. Yeah. Told you, mate. I need a T-shirt. Buy a Terric.
In every yeah.
Maybe we should do that. Teesprings. Just buy a Terric.
Yeah. If in doubt.
Buy a Terric.
I'm looking for a dive knife. And it's like, just buy a Terric.
A Terric. Yeah, exactly. I just need a glow stick.
File one of the edges down.
Glow stick. Terric glows.
I need a new bag.
Yeah, Terric.
Buy a shearwater Terric.
Yeah, but use the strap as a thing. You'll be all right. Exactly. Buy a Terric, guys. Anyway, question number 3 is from Carson. They say, hey, guys, can you recommend a good, comfortable snorkel and mask set? I'm in the market for some new gear. I can't go try stuff on. I wish I could. Just see if you could tell me where to start with. Options are overwhelming. Yeah, basically a nice net. Now, what I don't get from this is, obviously I'm not too sure whether he's snorkeling or scuba diving. So is there? Obviously, I know there's sets that you can buy that do both, but maybe is there an option where he could buy 2 separates and what marries up as well, Mark, as well as buying sets? You can mention maybe.
Yeah, so the world that we live in, or we have lived in for the past year and a half or something, has like thrown a lot of spanners into the works. So yeah, trying on masks is going to be sort of a very different thing going forwards. But actually, in a lot of cases, mask technology has come quite a long way. That's 9 times out of 10, it's gonna fit you, because the big brands, your Marses and Scuba Pros and whatnot, they all have an entire research and development team that spends a lot of time focusing on the shapes and contours of different faces and how different mask skirt designs can be shaped to seal against almost any face shape. So they are pretty good nowadays. So you don't have to try on every single mask, because 9 times out of 10 it's just gonna fit, because they fit a range of face shapes. You do get different almost grades of masks. You get a very inexpensive sort of budget mask and snorkel sets designed for snorkelers, really. You could use them to go scuba diving as well. There's nothing stopping you, but the materials and the finish and the kind of overall sort of quality isn't quite as polished. It'll do the job, but it's more designed for someone who just goes snorkeling every now and then. If you're going scuba diving a lot, then it is worth investing in that kind of almost sort of mid-range kind of mask. And then if you do it sort of professionally or sort of like every weekend or something, then you have the sort of the upper tier, as it were. By the sounds of it, it's more you're just getting into it, so it's probably worth just getting a mask and snorkel set, and then if you do get the bug, then you can upgrade to that kind of mid-range or something. But yeah, you can mix and match. When it comes to masks and snorkels, they don't really have to match. The one thing that you'll struggle to do is find colors that that match. That is a huge thing in the mask and snorkel world, in that trying to get matching colors is really difficult. That's why you don't see too many colorful dive computers as well, because trying to get the color of the plastic that creates the body of the dive computer to match the plastic color of the strap is incredibly difficult, because they're different materials. So trying to get these two reliably matching colors is actually really difficult. And it's one thing that Tusa has done very well. They have their sort of incredible color range, but trying to get them to actually match is quite tricky. So Tusa always have their sort of matching color ranges. But if you're trying to get like a Scuba Pro mask to match the blue of a Tusa snorkel or something, that can be quite tricky. So a lot of people just stick with black. Can't go far wrong with it. But yeah, there's nothing stopping you from just getting like a decent mask and a decent snorkel. They don't really have to match brands, but yeah, they'll all do the same thing. The one thing that you do have to pay a little bit of attention to is if you have one of the newer masks that has that kind of snowboard like elastic bungee thing. A lot of those have snorkel loops on them. They're bungee loops, but they only stretch so far. So if you get a snorkel with one of those big dry tops, sometimes it doesn't stretch over that. So you do have to kind of disconnect the bottom of the snorkel, which is a little bit disconcerting for a lot of divers, especially when you're just starting out. So try and avoid that, or try and get comfortable with disconnecting that kind of lower silicone section so you can slide it on and off.
Cool, man. Yeah, those snowboarding bungee masks, that's the future, guys.
They are cool. They're nice and comfortable, and they definitely do the job. And if anything, they're a little bit safer as well, because it's a lot harder to cut through it. But yeah, you know us scuba divers, we don't like change. So
tell me about it. Tell me about it. Cool. Awesome, thanks, Mark. Again, if you guys and girls out there have been looking at a mask and snorkel sets, are there any sets that you've used that have been fantastic for snorkeling and for scuba diving when it comes to, just starting out in scuba diving? Let us know your thoughts below, please. That would be awesome. Thank you very much. So the next question is from channel regular Cheesy Pops. They say, howdy, Mark and Sean. Howdy, Cheesy Pops. How's your day been? So, Mark, how's your day been so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, as I said, walked the dogs. Didn't really see anybody because I'm up there at about 6 a.m. and no one else is that crazy. Weather was good. It's starting to get a little bit cooler, which is quite nice, leading into autumn time, which is nice. And otherwise, yeah, got back home, had some breakfast, and then started this, really.
I was going to say, it's as of recording, it's 10:20 in the morning. I've been up since 5:30, looking after the little one while the missus is at work. So I brushed his teeth, fed him some. What did he have for breakfast? I had Weetabix for breakfast. Yes, exciting stuff. But yes, all is good. Anyway, Cheesy Pops also has a question. So they say
two-part question.
Two-part question. So I'm testing out new fins to improve my buoyancy. My current fins are the Scuba Pro Go Sport fins, which as far as I know are 1.1 kilograms, and they're way too floaty for me. So I tried my friend's old school jet fins, which were like 1.4 kilograms, and they worked perfectly. So I decided to buy heavier fins. So I'll decide to buy heavier fins, but should I buy the Apeks RK3, yes, or the Apeks RK3 HDs? Yes. So both. Apparently the HDs are negatively buoyant and the standard RK3s are neutral. Which one should I get? The fin size I would get would be large. The RK3s are 1.19 kilograms and the HDs are 1.4 kilograms per fin because I'm diving with 5mm boots all year round. So should they go for the RKs, and does weight come into it, Mark?
So, I mean, the first thing that I'll say is that my RK3s, so these are just the standard. They're not the HD fins, because the HD didn't exist when I bought these.
I was going to say, they don't look very high definition.
These float, actually, in fresh water. Ever so slightly, they'll float in that sort of upright position with like the water level here. The metal springs cause the bottom to sort of drop down, so they're kind of neutrally buoyant, but the weight doesn't have as much to do with the buoyancy as you think. It's quite a common thing for people to think, oh, if it weighs more, it'll sink more, but that's not always the case. So a lot of the time, it's just the material that they're literally made from. I can't remember if Apeks release a specific, it is made out of this such and such. So, I mean, if your buddies were like a classic old school jet fin, I mean, that could literally mean the Scuba Pro jet fin, which are renowned as being a sort of heavy sort of fin. But everyone makes a heavy jet fin. Even XDeep make one nowadays. So I wouldn't worry too much about the physical weight of it. It's more the buoyancy. And yeah, the RK3s, I think they designed them to be as neutrally buoyant as possible, but they are a little bit positively buoyant. Because mine, if you take them off in fresh water, they float. So if you take them off in salt water, they should float as well. The main difference between the standard and the HD is the flexibility of it. The HD is a little bit stiffer, so they're more for like raw power. Touchwood, I've never had a problem with the standard version. They do the job, and for just like chilled out dives, they have plenty of power, and it doesn't take it out of your legs. You're not getting as tired as quickly. If you go for the HD version, then you might get sort of a little bit sort of tired, more tired faster. But as far as buoyancy, the sort of the classic jet fins tend to be the heaviest. You see a lot with the Hollis F1 fins. They're quite a heavy fin and negatively buoyant. But the sort of classic jet fins like the XDeep, I forget what they call them. I think it's like the EX1 or something. The official name is, or the Scuba Pro jet fin. They are known to be quite negative to help keep your ankles down. But yeah. I mean, touchwood, I've never had a problem with the RK3s, but I think there are some that are more negatively buoyant, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it kind of makes sense. If something's like really heavy, it would sink, but it's not always the case. It depends what it's made out of, and or it's literally the amount of water, the weight of water that it displaces is the buoyancy. But with my RK3s, I know for a fact that they float in fresh water because I've seen it.
Well, that was very irresponsible of you for taking them off.
And these are a size large as well, so there you go.
Excellent, cool. Guys and girls, thoughts on fins, floats, weights? Let us know in the comments below, and let's help out. Yeah, help. Further discussion for cheesy pops, but basically the RK3 should do the job, is what you're saying at the end of the day.
They're perfectly fine. I don't know the specifics. It's really hard. I think someone's asked me before. It's like, can you create like a buoyancy chart for fins? And it's so
coming within the next week, 2 weeks. A deep dive about fin buoyancy.
It's tough because you have to have a set of scales to be able to measure how much it wants to lift or how much it wants to sink in the water. And then it's dependent on size of fin and water salinity and all that kind of stuff. So it is really, really hard to create that. And that's why a lot of manufacturers don't even mention it because it's so tough to measure, but it is interesting. I think the best thing is just like forums, just sort of ask.
No, if not forums, the YouTube comments on our channel. We have the best community ever.
There are some useful commenters out there.
Exactly. Wicked. Anyway, let's swiftly move on to question number 5. It's from Derek. He says, "Hi, loving the video and podcast." Because that's right, guys. This goes live as a podcast before it hits YouTube. So go check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Boom, got that one in. And I wrote that line. I'm actually Derek. I'm not really Derek. I'm not. He says it's the first one on the list when I listen to. Oh, okay, that's about the podcast. Yeah, let's actually go to the question. Cheers. Anyway, here we go. Sorry, I was just reading through the question. Anyway, enough of the brown nosing. Cool. Yeah. Can you please run through using the shoulder valve / dump on a dry suit, dry suit? And should it water? Oh my life! It's because it's throwing me off. And should it water leak into them? As my shoulder is often wet after a dive. How many turns? Closed or open? Dump or not? What's the correct way to use one? Basically, Mark, help him out.
So I have a couple. I've got one here. This is just a pretty traditional Cytec valve. I'll try and find somewhere where you can actually see it. So these are all 2-part valves. You have one section that goes on the inside of your dry suit. So you have that, which is basically just a filter. I don't know if you can see it, but inside there is like a foam material. You then have a anti-friction washer, and then this goes on the outside. On the outside, this outer section rotates, and when you unscrew it all the way, it basically relieves tension on a spring. I have a second one here that I've actually disassembled. So when you screw it, you're screwing this section into the valve, and that spring is basically holding that valve shut. When air on the inside of your dry suit gets to that valve, if there's enough tension on the spring, it just kind of stays there. But if there isn't enough tension and there's too much like air pressure on the inside, it can push against that spring, get through that valve, and escape through your dry suit. So when you have your valve, when it's unscrewed all the way, you've kind of lessened the tension on that spring as much as possible. That way, if any air gets around the inside of this valve, inside of your dry suit, it's just going to vent. So that's all the way open. That's mainly useful right at the beginning of the dive when you need to get all of the air out of your suit as much as possible. When you screw it all the way in, that is completely shut, and it would take a lot. This is sort of how I use it to do a positive pressure test on my dry suit. You close it all the way, just finger tight. You don't need to sort of wrench it closed. That way, it is very hard for that valve to open. So you can literally inflate your dry suit, and it'll just sort of keep going, inflate like a balloon. At any times, you can push this button in. It actually has a kind of springy motion in it. That's your kind of emergency purge, so you can just bash it, and that just allows it to vent if you don't have time to literally unscrew it on your shoulder as you're taking like emergency ascending or runaway ascent. Then you can just bash it. So that's quick and easy. The way I dive is I open it all up when I'm sort of getting kitted up, squeeze as much of the gas out as possible, jump in the water, and then it kind of vacuum seals you into the suit as all the air goes to the highest point when you're on the surface. Then I usually close it all the way and then do it like a half turn back. That's just how I kind of like it, just because it gives me a bit more control. It will vent if gas goes sort of in that direction, but it's more of a conscious effort of I just need to sort of tilt it a little bit, because I don't want it, if I'm sort of adding a bit of gas into my suit just to relieve a squeeze or just to give myself a bit more sort of insulation, I don't want it to come straight out again. it's one of those things that you kind of experiment with. You'll probably find if you're getting a wet shoulder, it's because it's either too open, because whenever you empty something and let gas out underwater, it's going to allow a little bit of water to come in, or it could be that it's literally just not screwed in enough. So because these are two parts, you have to make sure they're nice and tight to create that seal, because water could be getting into like around underneath the valve and then getting in. It could also be that you have some chalk buildup on the inside, or some talc. That's one of the reasons why you have that foam sort of section on this valve, because if you're using like a talc to like lubricate your seals, if you use too much, it ends up going up the sleeve and eventually getting into that valve, and it clogs up, it mixes with the water, and it just creates this like plug that basically holds the valve open and just lets the water in. So it could be that.
Cool. Sorry, I was starting to stretch as you talk. Oh, got to be able to stretch. Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's the inside of the valve. If you're interested.
Yeah, looks good.
Just a little one-way valve.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
you can keep talking. I'll just reassemble it. You
Okay.
can see this is why it's important to clean your stuff thoroughly, because this is my dry suit. You can see a little bit of rust and salt crystals in that.
Single use. Just throw it away, mate. After every dive, buy a new. That was your. Is that from your Argonaut?
It is. Well remembered, Sean.
Yeah. I don't remember my kid's birthday, but I know that you have an Argonaut dry suit. Telescopic as well, isn't it?
It is telescopic.
Mate, I've been hanging around with you too long. We are like an old married couple. Anyway, whilst you're doing that, I'm going to jump on to the next question, which is from Michael. He says, so this year my eyes have started to fail me. Well, that sucks. I've been putting on I have been putting a small bit of water on my mask for magnifying effects to see my dive computer screen. Okay, that's an interesting little hack.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah, that's very good actually. Well done. He goes, but I wanted to know about magnifying lenses for your mask. Are the glue-in ones the best? I just picked up the Dive Op lenses, glueless. Are they the ones that clip in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're like the like plastic sort of things that you just like push onto the inside of the glass and they like stick there.
Yeah, I remember them. What are your thoughts and what do you think about them?
Yeah, they're okay. If you only struggle with sort of close-up stuff, reading your dive computer, they're pretty good because it's the most inexpensive way of doing it. You're not ruining the lens by sort of having it in the wrong place. The one thing that you do have to be careful of, I've never had this issue myself because I don't use them, but I have heard that if your mask does flood, it can dislodge them and they just kind of like float around, and of course you don't want to lose them. A more permanent option is literally having that like bifocal lens created. It's not cheap, but it can be done. There are manufacturers out there who will literally make a lens that will fit your exact mask and they'll fit it, but it is in no way cheap. You can get, as Sean mentioned earlier, like a frame. I think it was Tusa. They make a like I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically a frame that sits on the inside of your mask. Most masks, it's more like single lens masks. It won't fit in twin lens masks because you have that section in the middle. But yeah, it is basically just a little plastic frame that kind of like holds itself into the mask, and then you pop whatever lenses you want into them. But that's more for all over vision. If you just want that like lower quarter, I think what you found is probably the best thing at the moment.
I swear, I'm probably imagining it, Mark, but wasn't there things for double lenses? And they clip into individual ones. So even if you've got a whole lens, you've got the one for the lens, but then you've got one for each lens. Yeah.
You can like chop and
change
as you want, but they only correct the is it the spherical reading on your lens, so it'll be +1, +1.5, +2, +2.5, or minus as well. They won't do like the prism or whatever it is, astigmatism or something. They only do like the stock, this, that, and the other. But yeah, if you if you've got those like little things that stick on the inside of the lens, and that's all you really need, then yeah, that probably is the best method for you at the moment.
Excellent, cool, nice one. Hope that helps you out. Let us know as well, like if you use them. Let's know in the future videos. Comment below to see how you got on. Now normally that would be the end, so 6 questions, but we do have a short but sweet bonus question because we're still getting questions like this. They're not as frequent as they used to be, but we still do get these questions. So this bonus question is from James. Which is interesting because what I'm going to talk about, there was a James that used to be involved. So I wonder if it's the same James.
No, I can confirm it's not the same James.
Okay, it's not the same James.
I've spoken to this person, yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so James says, is your Faversham store still open, Mark?
No.
What?
No,
it's not?
basically.
Oh, I was just there the other day, mate. What are you on about?
No, for those of you who don't know, we used to have a Faversham everything. Basically, it was an office warehouse shop that you could come and visit, and you could sort of see and try on all the bits and bobs. If you placed an order, that's where it would be shipped from. That's where Sean and I, we had our studio. It was all in one sort of central location in Faversham here in the UK. After COVID, after changing business owners and whatnot, we don't have that location anymore at the moment. I think it's a Screwfix. I think it was gonna have a bridal shop in it. I'm not sure if they've moved in or not.
Yeah.
And then I think basically we don't exist anymore. We do have a warehouse in Kettering in the UK, nice and central. We've got offices in the UK, in London. But no, we don't have the Faversham location anymore. He was basically asking if where to service his regulators, because we don't service regulators anymore or service anything anymore. So the best bet is to go to your whoever manufactured your regulator. Go to their website. Most of them nowadays have dealer locators, so you sort of have a map and all the different pins of all their different locators. With a lot of them, you can actually filter that by servicing locations. Just because they sell the equipment doesn't necessarily mean that they can service it. So filter it by that. Find your sort of local dealer, or there are some online servicing centers which are quite cool. One that I specifically know of is Obsequio, if you can spell that, good luck. And they're like mail order, so you kind of like place an order online for, I have this set of regulators with this primary, this opto and whatnot, buy now. You pay for it. They then, I can't remember, that they either like email you a like a collection sticker or something. You box your regulators up, you put the sticker on, whatever courier comes and collects them, takes them to Obsequio, they service it and then mail it back to you. So that in a like post-COVID world is quite convenient, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere that doesn't have your specific like dealer. So yeah, that's definitely an option for you. Have we checked that we are no longer on the manufacturer's websites as servicing? We're still all over. It takes a while for the manufacturers to catch up. So yeah,
great. Come to our Faversham store where you will be able to get your rig serviced, get some screws from Screwfix, and potentially a wedding dress. Yeah, that's it. It's it is just the manufacturers updating their spreadsheet. So yeah, it takes quite a while for them to just sort of get around and update all the details. So yeah, if you do search for Simply Scuba on some manufacturers, it will still show us as being at 5 Jubilee Way in Faversham, but we are not there. I can promise you that. Definitely. And to anyone who might potentially say, "Oh, future ramifications, are you going to have a store in the future?" I can 99.9% guarantee. Probably not. No, yeah. We won't. The company that we own is all about being online and an online presence. The only offices or brick and mortar stores that we have are our warehouse, and if we have to have offices. Like Mark says, we're in London, we're in Manchester, we're scattered all over the UK. They have some key offices for key business needs, but other than that, it's all either work from home or it's literally everything's just in the warehouse. So that, and the likelihood of us getting a store is very slim, Jim, because they don't believe in it, in all honesty, and that's just the way it is.
It's not. Yeah, it is not the future, and with a lot of the things like masks, especially as we were talking about earlier. Trying to try things on, you're like, oh great, but now I've got to spray you down with antiseptic.
Exactly. Exactly that. It's a tricky thing, but it is what it is. And that's it. That is askmark number 39 done and dustido. Do you want to do the outro, Marky Mark?
Yeah. If you have any questions about anything to do with scuba, by all means, let us know down in the comments below on any of our YouTube channels. But the
channels, how many have we got?
I know. Yeah, that was impressive. But try and use the hashtag askmark, just all one word, because that's what we search for to do these kind of questions. If it is an interesting question and it's sort of quick and easy, I'll try and reply to your comment then and there. If not, I'll usually put it into one of these Friday shows so that Sean and myself can elaborate on it a little bit better. So yeah, anything that's like popped into your mind, anything that I've said previously, because things change and I do say things wrong. So yeah, by all means, let us know and we will discuss it in the next Ask Mark. Don't forget to check out simplyscuba.com. We sell all sorts of interesting stuff, and it's all mail order. You can't try it on. You have to you have to buy it online, and we'll send it directly to you in some very eco-friendly packaging, because that's what we're all about. Yeah, don't forget to check out the podcast as well, because in each podcast I usually break down a green initiative that we're doing, because we do all sorts of different things that are eco-friendly sort of in the company. So it's definitely worth paying attention to that to see how you can help. Yeah, that's about it really for Ask Mark. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and of course, safe diving.
Stay classy, scuba divers.